Hi everyone, Caoimhin here from MTU's Blackrock Castle Observatory. In this week's video, we're going to be taking a look at the constellation of Virgo, and rather than continuing our journey along the ecliptic and through those interesting zodiacal constellations, we're going to move along the west into the northwest and look towards the northern sky. If we were to take a look at some of the constellations beyond Virgo on the ecliptic, we'd need to wait until much later in the evening. In fact, we'd need to wait until almost past midnight. Due to the size of the constellation Virgo, it takes quite a long time for all of it to rise. So far in our past videos on YouTube and Twitter, we've mainly taken a look at the upper portion of Virgo, unless we were looking at the morning sky, in which case the lower portion was fully visible. It takes a long time for all of that constellation to rise, so we're going to be taking a look from Virgo into a different area, but we are going to say just a little bit more about those galaxies in Virgo first, which we've mentioned in our Twitter video earlier this week. So we're going to first start pushing in here around the area of Leo's tail. So we've got that nice triangular shape here, which points us down in the area of Virgo, and we're looking just above Virgo around here. So these galaxies, as we've mentioned in previous videos, they're part of their own grouping, part of their own cluster, the Virgo cluster, and we have the Virgo Galaxy as part of this cluster. I'm going to take away the atmosphere, which is definitely going to take away all of the light pollution. One of the big problems with light pollution is that it lights up the air above us. If there wasn't any air, there wouldn't be any light pollution, which probably isn't the best solution. There are definitely other better ways of cutting down on the amount of light pollution we have to deal with, such as fewer lights and better angled street lights. So all of these galaxies that we can see over here, as you can see, there are quite a lot of them. Even if we take away the obvious labels, a few of these shapes stand out as being very different to the stars. So all of these galaxies are, well, they're quite large. Galaxies are very large things with millions and billions of stars inside of them. So having all of these billions and billions of stars, it's a lot of mass, and that generates, of course, a lot of gravity. So that's what binds our local group, the Milky Way, Andromeda, the Triangulum Galaxy. They're being attracted over towards these Virgo galaxies, even though the universe is expanding and things are moving away from each other on a large scale. On a smaller scale, things like the Milky Way and Andromeda, our group of galaxies and this group of galaxies, they have enough mass to pull each other together and pull each other towards each other, eventually forming an even larger group. So we can see that a lot of these galaxies, they certainly seem very close together. Of course, they are very far from us, so the gaps between these galaxies, they're still pretty large, but a lot of them are closer together than us and the Andromeda Galaxy. You can see the density. We don't even have images for all of these galaxies, not on our software here. For example, this galaxy, some of them are very distant, some of them don't have very clear images, but also if we wanted an image of all of these galaxies, that would be quite a few, packing up this area of the sky. So that's the area above Virgo and the Virgo clusters. That's pretty much all we'll be saying on those for the next couple of weeks at least. But we can see that there are a few more interesting ones over towards the north. So if we zoom back out a little bit, we're looking now up into this area between the handle of the plough, or the Big Dipper, and the tail of Leo. So we're above Virgo and a little over further towards the north. Really, we're focusing in almost on this constellation. These two stars are a whole constellation. This is Canis Fanaticide. So some of you might remember Canis Fanaticide or Canis Venatici as the hunting dogs, the pair of hunting dogs in the sky. So if we bring up our constellation lines, it is just two stars. If we bring up the images, you can see that it is meant to be two dogs. Somehow. Again, a lot of these constellations take quite a bit of imagination. Now, there are a few interesting things out in this area of the sky, and even without bringing up very clear labels, even without removing the light pollution in the atmosphere, there's already a few of these shapes being highlighted. We can see some more fuzzy shapes out there. If we do take away the atmosphere and get a perfect view, you can see there's quite a few galaxies out in this direction. Now, this area of the sky is particularly interesting for us at this time of the year because of the connection between these objects and ourselves here in Ireland. So we will be talking in a bit more detail about some of these connections and repeating them in a shorter, more concise format in our Twitter videos that will be coming up. But this area of the sky has a couple of very particular connections with Ireland. So we're going to start by looking in between this last star in the handle of the plough on the Big Dipper and Cor Caroli, which is the brightest star in Canis Venatici or Venatici. So you can see here, even in a city like Cork, in between those two stars is where we want to look. And we want to look a bit closer to the handle of the plough, which is where we're going to find a galaxy. You can see its name here already, the Whirlpool Galaxy. We've mentioned it in previous videos, but if you weren't aware, the Whirlpool Galaxy was one of the first galaxies clearly seen through a telescope. It was the first galaxy to have the shape of its spiral arms described thanks to the view through a telescope. So the spiral arms of this galaxy in particular are very, very clear, very, very sharp and detailed. These galaxies are sometimes referred to as grand design spiral galaxies because they really do look like they were drawn or designed. They're not at all blurry or blended together. You can see that it's also swallowing up a very small galaxy. A companion galaxy is going to get pulled in here to form part of the Whirlpool Galaxy over time. You do need a very big telescope to see those spiral arms, and the telescope that saw these spiral arms for the first time, it was at its time the largest telescope in the world, the Leviathan, in Birr, County Offaly. So it was the Earl of Ross, who was the Earl in Birr, County Offaly, in that land at the time, using the Leviathan, was able to describe the spiral arms of that galaxy and sketch them out by using charcoal on paper. So this galaxy was first described by somebody here in Ireland using an Irish telescope, the largest in the world at the time. Moving back in towards Canis Fanaticide, we can see that there are a lot of interesting galaxies out here, and as we mentioned in previous videos, we're not looking into the Milky Way here, we're looking away from the disk of our galaxy. That means there's a lot fewer stars to get in the way of these things. But in this area of the sky, it's not a galaxy that we want to talk about, but an exoplanet. So if we zoom back out a little bit here, all of these little dots in the sky are exoplanets. They're planets orbiting around other stars, the same way our planet orbits around our sun. Now, as you can see, there's a lot more visible here along the arc of the Milky Way because we do see these inside our own galaxy. Out here, like I said, we're looking away from the disk of our galaxy, so we're not going to see as many exoplanets. We haven't really seen any exoplanets in any other galaxies. We'd have to look pretty far away to achieve that. Around here, just above Canes Venatici, is a star with a planet around it. It's very, very distant, and it was discovered recently enough that it doesn't even show up on this system. So we have a few other stars near it that have planets, but the one we want to mention are Bran and Tyrion. So those names may sound familiar if you're interested in Irish mythology. Bran and Tyrion were, well, they weren't both always dogs, but they became dogs. One of them was born a dog, Tyrion was turned into a dog, and Bran was their pup. So Bran and Tyrion, they're part of an Irish mythological story about somebody being cursed and turned into a dog, having puppies, and those puppies then eventually being raised almost like sons in a way. So Bran and Tyrion are a star and a planet, a particularly massive planet that orbit out in the direction of Canis Venatici. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, then you'll need to check into the Twitter video that we'll be posting during the week, because we are going to talk in particular about that star and planet and about how they got their name, because they do officially have Irish names. Bran and Tyrion are the names of those of that pair of a star and a planet. But we're also very going to quickly point out again for anybody who's missed it just here at the end of the video that there is an Irish named moon orbiting around Saturn. We have Caoimhin orbiting around Saturn, named after an old Irish Celtic goddess. So we're going to just give a little bit of time for Saturn to begin coming up in the morning. As we mentioned in previous videos, it's not in a fantastic position just yet, but it will get better and better and easier to see as we push towards the end of the month and towards April. We're definitely coming up to morning time now. There is Scorpius the Scorpion. You can take a look back at some of our previous YouTube videos if you'd like to learn more about that, particularly the Irish language video that we posted for Shocked in the Gaeilge. Now here we come. There's a nice bright dot there just above the sun. That looks like Saturn. Indeed it is. So we're going to take a closer look. With all of this extra light from the sun, we can still see a few of those moons. None of these are Caoimhin. Caoimhin is a particularly far orbiting moon, orbiting way out here. So it's very, very difficult to see. But if you go and look at Saturn with your eyes without using a telescope, Caoimhin is definitely out there, so you're definitely looking at it once you find Saturn in the sky. So there are quite a few little connections to Ireland that you can see in the sky over the coming few days, which is of course perfect for the time of year that we have. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the little blue bell icon to receive the most up-to-date notifications, and make sure to check out the videos that we're posting on our BCO Twitter as well. Thank you.